Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Another dark video, a very unexpected one. Yeah, so this came out of nowhere really. I've been, for the past week, you know, after the last upload for dark, I've been scouring the internet trying to find, you know, trying to catch up because I wasn't around at the time when the series was released initially, or I wasn't checking out the series at the time. So I missed all the excitement and all the theories, the fan theories and all of that before. So I've been catching up, reading other reviews and other theories and you know, see how they align with mine or not, you know. Just to see several other opinions on the series. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So I decided that I just do a video. One person had mentioned that there is a bloopers that's just really funny, so I decided I would actually check that out. It's a very dark series, and there isn't a lot of levity, and so it's welcomed, and it's always fun to see the cast and crew behind the camera, you know, just having a blast and enjoying what they do. I do hope Netflix puts out more of those, because I was only able to find bloopers for season 3. I didn't see any for season 1 or season 2, but I hope Netflix puts more stuff like that up after the series, because it's really just fun to watch. So we're going to be checking out the bloopers, and then after that we'll have a discussion about some fan theories that I was able to find. I've narrowed it down to just 3, so the video isn't too long, because if you go down the dark rabbit hole, you can be there for quite some time. So I've only selected 3 in keeping with the triquetra, and well, one of the 3 I think I'd mentioned at the end of the last video, because I was a bit unclear as to, you know, the explanation, or why we didn't get an explanation for that. But I saw some interesting theories about it, so I wanted to discuss that as well. So three theories that we're going to be discussing, and before that we'll watch the bloopers and have some fun with that. But interestingly, while I was checking out all these, you know, theories and rewatching some videos, I noticed for the final video, the recording was actually done on my 33rd birthday. Not to the day, my birthday is the 1st of February, and I think I did it in the very last week of February, somewhere there. But it was an interesting revelation. It wasn't deliberate, but it almost makes me happy I didn't watch the series initially, if only for that payoff, to see how, you know, where I concluded the series. But unfortunately, nothing otherworldly happened. You know, I didn't receive any visits from my other self, nothing of that sort. Anything is possible, of course, you know. After all, was wir wissen, ist eintroffen. I'm just kidding, guys. Nothing happened. If I was, you know, if I did, I would tell you. I would tell you guys, right? Good. Where was I? Yes. So we're gonna be checking out the bloopers, and then we'll discuss some of the more popular fan theories, and hopefully you guys will let me know what your theories are. If there's any that's not on that list, you can let me know what other speculations you have, and we can discuss those in the comments. So the bloopers for dark. Let's begin.
Sit.
Little Martha, Stranger Martha.
Du bist so gemein, ey.
Listen,
Hör auf damit.
So machen wir das bei uns hier weiter.
I hated the character of Hannah, but I love the actress.
Total den Miserable, alles vergessen tun. Ich hab das verdreht. Ich hab das verdreht. Ich mach's nochmal. Und ich mich selber.
You thought Noah had such a sense of humor.
Adam, ich bin's, Noah. Rick.
Was ist das? Oh, schon ein Haar.
Sorry.
Party machen.
Scheiße. Völlig daneben.
I haven't checked out what older Adam looks like, the actor. I need to do that. I really haven't checked out his biography or anything like that, but he was really good.
Ja, ich glaube, du hast 2 PKWs gesagt. Aber 47 PKW und 2 PKW. Sehr wenige PKWs.
Way too little.
Oh Mann. Das scheiß Ding da.
Martha! Martha? Martha! Eine Katze wird in eine Stahltar. Sonst war es geil.
It was. Nokia ringtone. Oh my God. God, yeah.
Sterbe!
Man, I needed that. I needed that so much. As I said before, I mean, the series is called Dark, so you don't expect a lot of levity, and there really wasn't with a few, maybe Waller, you know, with the eye patch and the arm and the missing arm and so on. But it's really fun to just see the cast just know that they were having fun on set, because Dark was such a very grilling series and very demanding of them, I'm sure, because they have to, you know, consistently be in that place playing those characters who are always experiencing some traumatic event or another. So it's really just fun to watch them go to let loose. And who would have thought that Noah of all persons would actually be this funny? I take back my joke. That he looked like, you know, a pastor that would beat you to death. That you know, it's just good to see that and it shows just how much range he actually has, because he seems like he's a pretty hilarious guy. But for him to play that serious character and maintain that composure straight through, I'm sure there are moments on set where he probably just broke. You know, just from watching that clip alone, I can tell he's probably just one of those persons that just breaks character on set all the time. But watching this series, you'd never think that, and that's you know, that speaks to the depth of his character and his skills as an actor. So that was just fantastic. I mean, Claudia breaking there was just funny. She's the other character because she's one of my favorite characters coming out of the entire series. If she wasn't always, but the moment older Claudia was introduced is where Claudia you know, moved up for me. And I began to see the moves that she was actually making that some of the characters just weren't, you know. And I you know, I have to say I probably have the biggest crush on 2052 Elizabeth. I think it was the photo, when she took up the photo initially with her and Adam. I'm like, the makeup team did a fantastic job because she is beautiful. But Hannah, of course, as I said, I had a lot of criticism for Hannah in the series, but the actress, I absolutely love her because I think she's done a fantastic job being that character that you love to hate, you know. And again, that comes to the script, but also her delivery, and she's very despicable. And I mean that as a compliment. No, I said I wanted to just talk about some speculation, some of the more interesting theories that I actually came across, and I have them 3 in particular on my list that I'd love to hear all your thoughts on. And if there are any that aren't here, you know, in this 3 that you think should be more prominent or worth discussion, you can just post down below and we can have the discussion there. But the first on my list is the tattoo that is inscribed on, I think it was on Bartoshi's chest, and it was on Noah's back. So the series didn't go in depth about what that actually was, but we're going to discuss that for a moment. The second theory is why Adam named you know, Hannah Noah, you know, and why he gave himself the name Adam. And the third is actually what happened to the boys, or why the boys were actually chosen, which I mentioned at the very end of my last reaction. You know, why was Yasin chosen? Why was Eric chosen for you know, being transported to the past? Was there some connection to the other characters to get those characters to take specific actions? We didn't see that those characters tie into any of the other, you know, the others that we were following, to see if that had any particular influence on them. So why those boys specifically? Why did they have to be chosen? You know, as I mentioned before, I understand Mads because that needed to happen for Ulrich, but the other boys didn't quite get the explanation as to why they were chosen. So those are the three that I wanted to talk about. The first is going to be the tattoo, which I think is a piece of the emerald tablet, the primal materia. And the only reason I know about this is because I've watched the Full Metal Alchemist anime. I watched it a very long time ago, but it's one of my favorite anime of all time. And I recall at the time watching it, just being amazed by the storytelling, but this idea of the Philosopher's Stone. And I went and read all information that I could actually find about it. Right. So the premium material, it does mention the foundation or the basis for creating the Philosopher's Stone. But there's a part of the script there that actually I think mentions and thus the world was created. And I think that's where possibly that may not be the case, but the tattoo actually looks pretty similar to the script from the premium material. So I think that's maybe where the writers drew some inspiration from for Sigmundus Creatus Est. So that is my theory. I've seen a few persons, around speculating about Dark who share the same thought that I did. So it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think about that, about the prima materia, how you think it ties into the series. I respect that the writers didn't go too much in depth into it because, of course, the prima materia it's pseudoscience to some extent, but the writers have tried as best as they can to keep a focus on take influence from some pseudo-scientific theories, but also try to lay the foundation as grounded as possible. Of course, we go into determinism and stuff like that, which is also by its nature just really assumptions and not so much theories. Which was one of my gripes with the season, but not a major one. So I respect the way that they've done that, the treatment that they've given the series so far in using these bits of information to actually keep you interested, but also build on it using make it taking their own spin rather than just borrowing directly and running with it. So the execution was brilliantly done. But that is my theory for the tattoo. I don't know if there are any others. So if you guys have any other thoughts on where that tattoo may have come from, what the inscription says, and where you think the origin or where it originated from. It wasn't mentioned a lot. I don't think Adam or Jonas, the stranger himself, is really a religious person. I didn't get that impression. I didn't get impression from Jonas, from the stranger, that they were really religious persons. But at the same time, this paradise that he's trying to create, it feels very much like a religious cult. We see Noah, who pretends to be the priest of the church that was nearby, and the unknown did the very same thing. So there are a lot of religious connotations and in the discussions that happen, but I wonder how the characters actually came to that. We never got to see that because for Noah, it was a complete time skip from his younger days to his older self, and the same thing for Jonas to some extent. We don't see what happens in between for the two characters when they were there with Claudia, as to what would tie them to make the decisions that they make later on. Why Adam would then call him Noah, why he would name himself Adam. So we'll just go into the second theory, which is why Adam and why Noah. Why were those names chosen? And again, as I mentioned before, I think I mentioned during the season and my reaction as well that those were biblical, but at the time, I think that was back in season 2, and I think some of my theories were disproven at that time. But my assumptions at that point was that Adam represented the beginning because of his namesake, and Noah would represent the end. But at the very same time, I don't think Noah played a particularly key role in ending the cycle. I thought that's how it would play out, that Noah would be the end of Adam, or that's how it would actually play out. But no, he did play an important role, to be fair. You know, he did play an important role, but he wasn't the end of Adam, or he didn't play a critical role in ending Adam's, you know, Adam's journey there. So why the name Adam? That's yeah, I can only assume again that, you know, Adam has become something, has embraced the more religious side of himself. But again, it's not something that was explored in this series. We had a few discussions between Noah and Mikkel earlier on, where they spoke about creation and you know, it's the Big Bang versus, you know, more religious explanations. And I think they had like maybe 2 or 3 more debates about it, but we never and as I said, we never got the foundation for where those religious beliefs actually came from. I can see it happening more for Noah, if only because of the time that he actually came from, since he actually came from the 20s, and at that point it was still very, you know, it was I think as time went on, more people move further and further away from some faith, or they're exposed to more faith, you know, but I can see him being very devout, you know, in his teachings and what he may have learned in that at that time, versus someone like you know, someone like Adam, who is actually from 2019, and you know, he's experienced all these things. Why would he choose to give himself that name? I mean, there was a discussion about God versus time, but he seems to, you know, to resent God, you know, or resent time for what it has done to him. And so if that is the case, why would he then choose to give himself a name like Adam, you know, to imply that he is the beginning? So it's all very interesting. I don't have a lot of theories on that one. But we didn't get a whole lot as far as I said, in between the 33 years for each of his selves, from Jonas to the stranger, and from the stranger to Adam. We didn't get a lot of what happened in between to get him to that point where he's now giving his followers these names. I don't think any of the others had a change in name. So why specifically Noah? Why did he change just Noah's just Hannah's name to Noah? And I mean, initially I was thinking that okay, he had the name Hannah for a while, but when exactly would he have gotten the name? I remember when we actually saw them at the cave, Bartosz and younger Noah, he did say to him, you know, you should ask him why he gave you the name Noah. But I mean, at that stage, I guess he's been with him for a while. But when in one of the later episodes, when we saw where you know, Agnes was actually born and Noah was already a kid, you know, Celia had already given him his name. So when did the name change actually happen? And it's strange that I've mentioned before, you know, that Bartosz should allow all of this to happen, knowing all the things that he knows. But Celia had already decided that, you know, what her kids should be called. And so we already had the name for Hannah. He was already named. So which means that Adam only gave him the name at a later date. You know, as to why he gave him that particular name, you know, it still remains a mystery. So your guess is as good as mine, guys. So let me know what your theories are on the names that were chosen. Why did Adam give himself the name Adam? Why did he name Noah specifically Noah, and no one else had a change in their names? Was it so when he traveled through different times, you know, there was no risk of him being recognized or his name being recognized by others? That is a possibility as well. So be sure to post down below and let me know what your thoughts are on that one. All right, so that leaves the third and final theory, which is what happened to the boys and why they were chosen by Noah. Now, as I said before, I had discussed this in my last reaction video for the series, so how I felt as though there wasn't an explanation given for that. I've seen some comments in the last video that gave two explanations. The first of which is that you know, for Ellie, Yasin in particular would have been taken so that Ellie has a romantic relationship with Noah later on. That's my least favorite of the two because I just think there are too many variables for that to be the more practical reason. First off, the apocalypse was going to happen regardless. I think Yasin like many of the others in the town would have died from the apocalypse. Now, on the off chance that he somehow survived, and that's a slim chance because the only reason that Jonas was able to survive, he went into the basement, sure, but he only did that because he knew the apocalypse was happening. Most people in town wouldn't have been able to react as quickly as he did. He was already in his house. He already knew what was going to happen and knew what he needed to do to avoid it. A lot of people may have thought it was just an earthquake, and they would try to find shelter, but I don't think they would have been as responsive as Jonas would have been. So there's a high possibility Yasin would have died anyway. So he wouldn't need to be taken. But on the off chance that he does survive, I mean, the events that happened to Ellie would happen anyway, right? Her mom would still be gone, her sister would still be gone, and I don't think the first thing she would think to do is, where is Yasin or look for Yasin. I don't think she even remembered him at any point, after the apocalypse, right? So I don't think that would be her priority. And then when her dad died, Noah would still be there to help her and to protect her. So I don't think Yasin absolutely needed to have been taken for that relationship to actually progress later on in their lives. And especially when you do consider, I think it was, perhaps it wasn't alluded to in the series, but the loss is something that binds a lot of these characters together, their desires. And both Noah and Ellie shares that, in that they have a desire that they're trying to obtain or regain, something that was taken from them, whatever the case may be, but there's a desire that is driving them. And Yasin wouldn't particularly have that. I don't think even if he was in the equation, he would be, he would have that same connection that both Ellie and Noah would actually have. And of course, if we're going with the idea of determinism in the series, then Yasin wouldn't matter because she would be with Noah regardless. No matter what happens, she would actually be with Noah. If we're going with the theory of, we're going with determinism as a factor here. So that's my least favorite of the two. Now, the second is actually that, perhaps Noah was conducting experimentations and, he was just testing the chair on these boys before the final use. But when exactly was the chair used successfully? I know how Helg was taken, but, I'm trying to remember if Helg was actually, I think he was sent back through the use of the chair. But did they test it before that, or was it after Helg was sent back that they actually did the kidnapping of the other kids? Because it was younger Helg at that point. And if that's the case, is that they sent back Helg, but they wanted the chair to work again, but they couldn't get it to work, or was Noah testing the other? Yeah, because Helg would have seen the bodies for the boys before he was actually taken. So I guess the idea is that he was testing the chair with Yasin and Eric first to find out how it works. But again, why those boys in particular? Because we're given the impression that all these events that are happening now have happened continuously and repeatedly. So why those boys specifically? Or is it a case where, okay, it worked with them, it didn't work with them before, there were failed experiments, but we need to follow the same pattern of events. Is that what we're going for here? The only thing I can think of, maybe their age. Is that okay? They tried for Eric first. He was a bit older, and then they tried someone younger. But then I would want to say, okay, why didn't he try to get an adult first? It seems to me that it's a fair assumption that perhaps trying to kidnap an adult to strap to the chair to send through to test the chair would be maybe a bit more difficult to do. But at the same time, kidnapping a child in a small town raises a lot more flags and an alarm than if an adult actually went missing. So there are two folds to it. So but I can see either. It's a good reasoning there that okay, it might have been difficult for him to actually kidnap an adult and you know, strap to a chair by his lonesome and get to test his chair. But at the same time, it is also risky to kidnap a child in a small town because, you know, we saw the teams that were now out looking for this child, and the risk of him being discovered would have been higher. Of course, the town did a piss poor job of that, so maybe that factored into their plan that, okay, we can take a child, they're easy to abduct, to get in the chair and all of that, and if anyone is looking for them, then, you know, I don't know, the town authorities suck at their job, so maybe they won't find them. But yeah, so that still pretty much remains a bit of a mystery for me. I mean, we can make some assumptions as to why specifically those kids were taken, but yeah, even in Eva's world, Eric was also taken in that world as well. So there's still a lot of, you know, questions as to why, you know, why those boys in particular, why were they chosen? Yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on those theories. As I said, those two I think were in the comments from the last two. Those are the only two that I've seen as far as this theory. Those are the two best answers that I've actually seen that me give some explanation as to why those two boys are actually chosen. But I'm curious to know if anyone else has any theories about why. So let me know those three theories. Yeah, Noah's tattoo, if you have any thoughts on what his tattoo means. Bartosz also had a tattoo, but I don't think Magnus had it, or at least none that we saw. But what exactly does it mean? What does the tattoo actually mean? Why would they have the tattoo in the first place? Does it somehow represent Adam's world without time? Is that what it's supposed to be? Then there's the name, why Noah, why Adam, why did he choose those two names? And finally, the boys, why were those boys in particular chosen? So I am very interested to know what your thoughts are on those three topics. So be sure to post down below, let me know what your thoughts are. Yeah, remember to hit like and subscribe, guys, and I'll see you for the next one.